Who is ready to geek out to some weather? I am. Hopefully you are too. Good Wednesday evening, everyone. Eric Wilhelm here, Weather for Weather Geeks time. We are going to do a quick review of the severe weather forecast from yesterday before we get to future weather. I posted this on social media earlier on today. This is a very well forecasted event across Pennsylvania in particular. These are the Storm Prediction Center forecasts leading up to yesterday's severe weather event, and overlaid on top of those, the actual severe weather reports. Those are the little squares or dots. So here's the 1 a.m. forecast, 8 a.m. yesterday, 11:30, etc. And so as you can see, most of the severe weather that occurred was right there in the middle of the slight risk in the yellow there. So it was very well forecasted in terms of the categorical risk, and also when you talk about the individual types of risks. For instance, this column right here, this is the tornado risk, and of course there were a handful of tornadoes in Pennsylvania late last afternoon into the evening, and these all occurred within at least the 2% contour, if not the 5% contour that was issued by the Storm Prediction Center. Same thing with wind and with hail. This was a nailed forecast by the Storm Prediction Center, and that's no surprise. They nail forecasts like this all the time. And it wasn't just the Storm Prediction Center. Across the weather enterprise, for an unusual early October severe weather outbreak, that was a very good forecast leading up to yesterday's event. All right, today was a much calmer day. We had a little sneaky sunshine in spots this morning, but the flavor of the day was certainly clouds for the morning and the first half of the afternoon. As we got into the late afternoon, finally this stratus and stratocumulus deck started to thin out, and it turned into a very nice evening. Of course, we have less daylight to enjoy in the evenings these days, but the last couple of hours before sunset were indeed very nice. Let me move my camera over here and show you the high-res visible satellite loop from today. Of course, we're looking down at the clouds now, and it might take a couple seconds here for this to catch up. Looks like I have a little bit of a slow connection this evening, but what I was going to show you is that same idea, looking down on the clouds from above. The clouds thinned out nicely as we got through the second half of the afternoon today. All right, next weather maker is up across the Midwest this evening. A tornado watch in the red box here, even a warning on a cell here in western Wisconsin. And this is strong cold front. We have severe weather here, and then not far to the north, yeah, that's snow falling across the border over into parts of Canada. And wow, what a temperature gradient along this front. I mean, it's 93 as of 7:20 Eastern in Omaha, and it's 40 in Fargo. I mean, yikes, that's almost 55 degrees across this front. And so no surprise, the weather's a little bumpy in the upper Midwest this evening. It's even colder up in Canada, and the cold has been building here in western Canada for a while. While the eastern U.S. and eastern Canada has been experiencing a very warm start to the fall season, the cold has been building across Canada. Now, if you're wishing for a cold winter, a snowy winter even, this isn't necessarily bad news. The warmth that we're experiencing in October, isn't probably all that relevant to the winter forecast here locally. What might be a little more relevant is the cold that's building up here, because as colder air masses continue to kind of build across Canada, chunks of those will start coming loose and coming down into the U.S., and the longer the cold sits here and refrigerates, the more snow that's going to fall, and that will lead to the air masses being even colder as, of course, we get into late fall and early winter. And yeah, there's plenty of snow on the ground, especially in the mountains out here, British Columbia, Alberta, even out into the prairies, pretty close to the U.S.-Canadian border. There's a few inches worth of snow on the ground. All right, big picture for Thursday. I'm going to draw your attention to a couple of things here. The rain chances peak mid to late morning with our cold front, and then decrease rapidly in the afternoon. Wettest part of the day will probably be right around lunchtime or just before. The other thing here, notice our sunset tomorrow evening is before 7 p.m. This evening was our last post 7 p.m. sunset until next spring, and more signs that fall is really settling in despite the actual weather. Our sunset tomorrow evening at 6:59, and then a month from tomorrow, the return of standard time and the sunset a month from tomorrow, 5/14. So, yeah, it's inevitable. It's going to get here. Darker days are ahead. Cooler weather is ahead, but you wouldn't know it by our forecast for the next handful of days. That is for sure. Tomorrow is going to be a mild day to start, but then it's going to be kind of one of those backwards days where our cold front comes through right around midday and temperatures drop. We get our showers. The sun tries to come out before the day is through. So, again, in case you just missed that, our rain chances peak mid to late morning, and then decrease in the afternoon. And the Storm Prediction Center is not really excited at all about severe weather here locally tomorrow. I can't rule out a clap of thunder, but we're in a very low severe weather risk tomorrow, so it's not a rerun of yesterday. Just the ingredients are not there. It's coming through at an earlier part of the day, and we won't have the super warm and humid air mass ahead of the front like we did yesterday. Look at this temperature drop, though, as the front rolls east. We'll start in the lower 70s tomorrow morning. And then after about 10, 11, 12 o'clock, temperatures drop quickly so that by dinner time, it's in the upper 50s. It's going to be one of those days where if you have like a 9 to 5 kind of a job, or as you're dressing the kids for school in the morning, be ready for the afternoon to feel different than the morning. It's still going to feel like summer in the morning, but a little taste of some typical October weather for a change, certainly before the afternoon is through. And that'll set the stage for a chillier night tomorrow night. Now, this is the latest run of our in-house model. It drops us all the way down to 39 tomorrow night and Friday morning. Our forecast is 45, so this number is probably too chilly, although I can't rule it out just yet. I'll look at more data this evening and adjust our forecast as needed, but this, at first glance seems like it's too cool, but it'll get well down to the 40s tomorrow night and early on Friday. Friday's going to be a nice day despite that chilly start. We'll have some sunshine, nice evening for high school football, and then a warm front comes through, and yeah, here's the beginning of our true August-like pattern that's going to last about 5 days. We're going to get into the warm sector Saturday. Nothing in the morning as we get through the late afternoon and evening, just in time for the homecoming parade and for the YSU game. Saturday evening, I can't rule out a passing shower or a thunderstorm. Notice I have the chances pretty low here, but it's something that I can't rule out, so it's something we'll have to watch out for. And one thing for sure, it's going to be warm. It is going to be humid on Saturday as well. Now, daily records are all probably safe during this stretch. We've got a 5-day stretch of 80s coming up. The records will be closest to the records probably Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. But all these records are in the upper 80s, with the exception of 2007. These are also all pretty old records dating back to the 1930s and 1940s. Showed you this map last evening. It hasn't really changed much in the last 24 hours. The 8 to 14 day outlook shows a progression eastward of the cooler air, and by days 10 to 14, I think some of these cool anomalies will finally shift in, but the front end of this 8 to 14 day outlook, around day 8, still going to be very warm in the east. So that's why the map looks the way it does. But around the end of next week into the following weekend, yeah, it's finally going to cool down. It's finally going to start feeling more like October. It doesn't look like a cold pattern, but it does look like a return to at least some semblance of typical October weather as we get into the middle and latter portions of the month. That is it for tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Thank you, as always, for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow evening. Have a great Wednesday night.